that something inside her had gone missing, like a melody she could almost remember, but never quite catch. The room was always quiet, the faint hum of the city in the distance, and the slow rhythm of her own breath reminding her that life continued whether she felt whole or not. Her name was Clara, and for years she lived in the stillness between longing and searching, convinced that one day she would find the thread that would stitch her scattered feelings together. She worked at an ordinary job, surrounded by familiar faces, but each day seemed to dissolve into the next without leaving any trace of meaning behind. She often wondered if everyone around her felt the same dull ache, or if she was alone in sensing that life was meant to be something deeper, softer, and more extraordinary than what she had known so far. One evening, after a particularly heavy day where her thoughts seemed to press against her chest like stones, she wandered into a small café she had never noticed before. It was tucked into a quiet street, its window fogged from the warmth inside, the golden light spilling onto the pavement. She stepped in, drawn by something she could not name. The air smelled of coffee and faint cinnamon, and there was a gentle hum of music playing in the background. Clara sat near the window, her hands wrapped around a warm cup, and for the first time in weeks she allowed herself to breathe deeply, to pause, to be present. She looked around at the strangers talking softly, at the barista who smiled kindly, as if he had known her forever, and she felt something stir inside her. It was not happiness exactly, but the sense that she was in the right place, at the right time, even if only for a fleeting moment. It was there that she met Anna, a woman a little older than her, with eyes that carried both laughter and sorrow. Anna sat nearby, sketching in a notebook, and when Clara glanced at her drawing, their eyes met, and a conversation began. It was light at first, about the weather and the coffee, but soon it deepened into something rare, something that felt like recognition. Anna spoke of her travels, of the moments she collected like treasures, of how she believed that each day carried a hidden gift if one chose to notice it. Clara listened, her heart quietly unfolding, as if Anna's words were keys unlocking doors she had kept closed for too long. When they parted that night, Anna pressed a small piece of paper into Clara's hand. It had an address and a simple line written beneath it. "Come find me when you are ready to see the world differently." Clara carried that paper with her for weeks, tucked into her wallet, feeling its weight every time she reached for something. She was afraid, unsure if she had the courage to follow where it might lead. Yet the thought of remaining in the same, unchanging routine, of continuing to drift through days without meaning, frightened her even more. One morning, after a sleepless night filled with restless dreams, she packed a small bag, left a note on her kitchen table, and followed the address. The journey led her outside the city, through winding roads that opened into a landscape she had not seen in years. There were wide fields, the scent of grass carried on the wind, and a quiet so complete that it pressed against her ears like a gentle silence she had forgotten existed. She arrived at a small retreat by a lake, where Anna greeted her with the same knowing smile, as if she had been expecting her all along. Clara was given a simple room, a bed facing the water, and instructions that the days would be slow, filled with silence, reflection, and small tasks meant to bring her closer to herself. At first, Clara resisted. She found the quiet unsettling, the absence of constant noise, leaving her face to face with the parts of herself she had long avoided. She would sit by the lake, watching the ripples move across the surface, and feel her mind running wild with worries, regrets, and questions she could not answer. But gradually, something began to shift. She noticed the way the light changed through the day, how morning held a pale softness and evening burned with quiet fire. She listened to the songs of birds, each one unique and insistent. She began to write in a small journal, not for anyone else, but as a way to let her thoughts breathe. And slowly her heart began to soften. Anna guided her gently, never pushing, only offering presence and small reflections. She taught her to breathe with intention, to walk slowly and notice the earth beneath her feet, to listen without rushing, to fill the silence. In that stillness, Clara discovered the weight she had been carrying for years. The expectations, the disappointments, the fear of never being enough. She cried quietly some nights, letting the tears soak into her pillow. But instead of feeling broken, she felt lighter, as if each tear carried away a fragment of what no longer served her. Days turned into weeks, and Clara found herself changing in ways she could not explain. She began to smile more easily, to laugh at small things, to feel warmth in her chest where there had once been emptiness. She connected with others at the retreat, each of them carrying their own stories of loss, search, and healing. Around the fire at night, they shared fragments of themselves, and Clara realized she was not alone in her longing. Every person there was seeking something, and in their shared humanity, she felt a quiet strength. When the time came for her to leave, Clara felt both sadness and gratitude. She hugged Anna tightly, whispering thank you with tears in her eyes. Anna only smiled and said, "This is not the end, only the beginning. Carry what you have found into the world. Let it shape you, guide you, soften you." Clara returned to the city, but nothing looked the same anymore. The streets were still crowded, the noise still heavy, but within her there was space, a calm she had never known before. She began to live differently. She spoke more gently to herself, aloud, herself moments of stillness even in the busiest days, and reached out to people with a kindness that surprised even her. She took long walks without a destination, savoring the feel of the sun on her skin and the sound of her own footsteps. She read books that stirred her soul, wrote letters she never sent, and filled her home with small reminders of beauty, a flower in a vase, a candle lit at dusk, a photograph of the lake where she had rediscovered herself. Months later, Clara found herself standing at the edge of the ocean, the salt air filling her lungs, the horizon stretching endlessly before her. She thought of the woman she had been, lost, heavy, searching, and the woman she was becoming, lighter, braver, open. She realized that the journey was not about finding a single answer or reaching a final destination. It was about learning to be present, to embrace the ebb and flow, to to trust that even in the quietest moments, life held meaning. Clara smiled, closed her eyes, and let the sound of the waves wash over her. She knew there would still be hard days, moments of doubt and longing, but she also knew she carried within her a well of strength she could return to again and again. And in that moment, standing at the edge of the vast ocean, she felt whole, not because everything was perfect, but because she had finally learned to be at peace with the imperfect, the unfinished, the beautifully human. The world would continue, with its noise and its rush, with its chaos and its challenges. But Clara had found a softer way of moving through it. She had learned that the most profound changes often begin quietly, in the stillness of a single breath, in the courage to listen to one's own heart, in the simple act of choosing to see beauty where once there was only emptiness. And as she walked along the shore, each step sinking into the sand, she felt as though she was writing a new story, one that was not about escaping life, but about living it fully, gently, and with an open heart.